We are talking about a big topic today, so we may have to make this a two-part series, but we're talking about how to open the secret door to a life of purpose and abundance. And I have Jamie, of course, I'm Ella Majors with Sexy Fit Vegan and the Plant Empowered Coaching Program, and we have Jamie Rotera, who has been through the Plant Empowered Coaching Program. She is a graduate turned mentor, training to be coach. So Jamie, thank you for being here once again.
Thank you for having me once again.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to really talk about the mindset shifts and the tools that we teach in the program, that I've used, that Jamie's used, to go from simply kind of being passive in our lives, from hoping that things are going to change, to really feeling like we are in charge of our destinies, of our future. And we've both been in that place where, you know those times, you guys let me know if you can relate to this, those times when you just feel like the universe is throwing you one curveball after the other and just like putting hurdles in your way, one after the other. And eventually you're like, okay, I know I'm supposed to learn from these things, but enough already. Like, I got it, universe. And so we've been there. And today we're going to really talk about how to make the shifts that you need to make to get out of that cycle and really start moving forward in a very powerful way. So we've got Svetlana here. Hi. It's so good to have you, Svetlana. And I do want to mention real quick, because I sometimes forget to mention, we're in the Empowered Vegan Life Facebook group, and we sometimes don't talk about veganism. And, how does this relate to veganism is that we're really talking about a lifestyle here, right? And being vegan is all about being in line with your values. It's about being able to make conscious and mindful choices about what we put in our bodies, what we buy, what we purchase. And so all the tools that we're learning in all the other ways that we talk about this mindset thing, they all make being a vegan easy. If that's your challenge, is thinking about the food becomes easy once you get these mindset shifts. So just know this has everything to do with having an empowered vegan lifestyle, including the food part. So with that being said, Jamie, will you start by kind of describing life before the program and what that was like for you with the universe throwing you curveballs and being in that place?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so life before the program looked a lot different. And at the same time, I'm also going to just poke a hole in that and say there are some similarities still, and I will explain that in just a second. But before the program, it was very easy for when adversity would come my way, I shut down very quickly. And it's just kind of like the story that you were telling about, just one little thing in the day, as simple as something happened the way that I wasn't expecting it to. And it would be like all of a sudden exhaustion would hit, or I would give up on whatever it was, or I would say, this is not working for me anymore. And instead of feeling like it was an opportunity, which is what I feel like now, I would feel like it was like all destructive and like I couldn't go any further. Where it's continued to be the same is adversity continues to hit. I feel like adversity never stops in people's lives. And a tape recorder still plays in my brain, for me to go back to those old habits and just to shut down and just to fight it, to fight it as much as I can, which makes me just exhausted to do. But now, having gone through the program, I'm able to recognize it. I'm able to take a breath and say, you know what, you're going through that tape recorder again, and just recognize everything that goes along with it so that I can move forward differently and change perspective faster. So it's a lot in a lot of ways.
Yes, and I'm gonna ask you to get personal here. And can you give us just some of like a real life example of these things? Because it's one thing to kind of understand it conceptually, but I think it's helpful for people to have an example. Is that something you can do?
Yeah, of course I can. I'm going to give you my most recent example that I've been sort of battling with for a couple of months now, trying to figure out. And I feel like I've spoken about it to death, to the point where I finally have to just throw my hands up and say, okay, I got it. I got the picture. But so I have an incredible full-time job, and I do what I studied in college, and it's a life's passion for me, and it's all of the wonderful things that I wanted it to be. And at the same time, I'm noticing recently that not everything in my current job really is in alignment with who I am anymore. Things are shifting, things are changing, and it's not something that I want the way that I wanted it before. And I've been struggling with, what am I going to do now that I have this, now that this opportunity is in front of me to change my perspective or to change what I'm doing. What is it that I really want? Because I thought for so long this was what I wanted. And now I'm realizing that maybe it's not so much what I wanted anymore. So it took me a lot of, some people will call it soul searching, but it took me a lot of just contemplation and realization and body rest. I had to sleep a lot on it. Sleeping on it is a good thing. And I finally was able to identify a different perspective. I was able to identify the bigger picture of what I want. It has nothing to do specifically with the job yet. I had to go bigger. I had to say, what do I want my life to look like? How do I want to feel on my day-to-day? Do I want to live a life of passion, or do I want to just do a job? Do I want to, there's questions that I asked myself that were really digging deep for me, which is why I think it took me months to actually get through this process, because these are really hard questions. Once I was able to identify that big picture, what would I like to feel like on a day-to-day? What are my priorities in my life? What do I want from life? I am now able to sort of scaffold it backwards and say, okay, so now let's deal with the job aspect of things. And now I'm able to know exactly what I want to do with my job position, or, not do with my job position. So it took some time, and it took a lot of me breathing on things and accepting them instead of fighting against the tide with them, realizing that there are certain things that I cannot change. And am I okay with that, or am I not? And so is that, without getting more specific, because, I don't want to take up too much time, that's the basis of what I've been dealing with lately.
No, I'm so glad you told us about that, and I think you hit something big there, which is that you needed to step back and look at the big picture.
Yeah.
Because we get so wrapped up in our day-to-days, and what we can do with the big picture is, that's when all the manifestation comes in, when you have that big picture, because we can't always control how we're going to get there. And those curveballs are going to come, and we're going to think that they are working against us,
right? When
really they're preparing us
and propelling,
preparing us and propelling us, because we need to learn the tools that we're going to have to gain to be able to get through that obstacle to get us to where we want to be. And I know that's a Abraham Hicks concept. There are a lot of experts that go with that concept, but it to me, it makes perfect sense if you really think about it.
It does. It really makes a lot of sense to me too. And a lot of what I've been contemplating is this stuff. And you're saying Abraham Hicks, and I've heard it said so many ways, but I really do believe Abraham Hicks says it really, really well. Before that adversity hits, before any of the things that you see in your life, that stuff has already begun. The changes have already begun. The adversity is only there to show you that it's time to make a change. That it's almost like the universe, in my language is what I like to say, is the universe is coming down and saying, okay, time to refocus, time to detour, because all of that stuff is already in play. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it definitely makes sense to me. And these are things that become easier and easier to understand as you start to really gain the tool we learned, the empowering tools. Because you know what, I'm gonna pause. I would like we play a little game, Jamie, and we'll call it, what does this quote mean to you? okay? Because I think it'll kind of tie everything together, because we could talk about this, I think, for hours. So we're going to try to stay focused here. But so here's the first one. A belief is only a thought I keep thinking. That's an Abraham Hicks quote.
It's one of my favorites. A belief is only a thought I keep thinking, so you can change it. That's what it means to me. Like, the way that we do things is the way that we do things because that's the way we've always done things. Because we haven't tried something else, maybe. Maybe we have, maybe we like what we do, but it's because we just keep doing the same thing. And it becomes a belief, it becomes a way of life, it becomes a habit. But truly, the power in it is that you can change it at any given time. All you have to do is make the choice. That's what that quote means to me.
I love it. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Do you guys get that? Who's watching now? Does that resonate with you? It's such a powerful place to be.
Yeah.
Is what it is, that I can create the belief that's going to serve me. It's so cool. Okay.
So cool.
So cool. It's so cool. So next one, don't look for the solution. Look for alignment. It will bring the solution.
And another one of my favorites. I just love Abraham Hicks. So this was one of the quotes that actually brought me to the conclusions that I was able to come to, and to step back and look at the bigger picture and think, what do I want my life to look like, as opposed to what is the rigmarole? So as opposed to what is the rigmarole that I'm in and how I'm going to change it, I looked at what do I really want my life to look like. And from there, from the what do I want my life to look at like, all of a sudden it just started pouring in like, okay, I know what I need to do now. It all just sort of came to me. But I had to stop thinking of what's right here in front of me and what my life looks like on a day-to-day and being overwhelmed by that, and be able to breathe and say, okay, I'm going to put that aside, and I'm just thinking of a whole different life. And if I had the life that I wanted, what would that look like? And then I work backwards from there. So yeah, I didn't look for the solution first at all. It would have never come to me if that's what I was looking for.
Right. Right. And again, you make a great point. This is looking within and exploring within, not based on our environment around us. Right. And we talk about intuition a lot. So in the program, we talk about intuitive eating. You know, that's where we listen to our bodies. We get super in tune with our bodies and decide based on how we feel what we need to eat to be our best selves, to be our healthiest, most energized selves. So the same goes with purpose. It's like when you make a decision that's in alignment, it's like this breath of fresh air is how I would describe it.
Yeah.
And I remember you feel lighter. It just feels right. When you get to that place that you're saying, I'm going to trust myself above all else. I'm going to get in tune with who I am, and I'm going to trust myself. Only then can we really start to listen. And I just remember creating Sexy Fit Vegan, and I had been a personal trainer, just knowing like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make the vegan lifestyle like my business, what I can spend my whole life doing? Because up until then, there just wasn't much of a market necessarily. And when I said it's time, I just knew it was time. And I thought of the Sexy Fit Vegan brand name. And I swear I've never been happier. It was a risk. It was scary. I was, making some big decisions. I was going into a business, and I'd never had a business before. Like, there's so many things that could have scared me into not going there. But when I made that decision, I knew it was right, and I never looked back. And that's what we have to do.
It's incredible. And I love hearing that story. I feel like I can never hear enough of your story because it's such an inspiration to me. You literally jumped in with both feet, and it wasn't even like you jumped in with both feet. Wait, so here, a friend of mine has this saying, I love her to death, and excuse my language for a second, but she says, stop shoveling your shit against the wind because it's just going to smack you in the face. And I love that saying because it goes along with exactly what you're saying. Like, once you sort of gave in to what was meant to be, it sort of all fell into place after that. But if you keep trying to resist, because we're human and humans don't tend to love change on a consistent basis,
Right.
we try and like go against the wind too much. Well, maybe let the wind take you and let's see where it goes. And I guarantee you it's going to bring you in the right direction. Just like your choice to bring about Sexy Fit Vegan, and look how incredible it is and how many people's lives are being changed because you created this incredible intuitive program because of you, you know, and then all the people who are involved, they just keep enhancing it. It's incredible. So yeah, I love what you're saying. I love your story.
Thank you, thank you. Janet said she lost sound. Did anybody else lose sound? Because I still hear Jamie. Of course, I can't hear myself. Let me know, you guys, other people, if anybody else lost sound or if that's on Janet's end. Okay, moving right along. We'll do one or two more. If you're not excited about it, it's not the right path.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, I think that I'm gonna give two sides to this one. So with me, I noticed in my life that things do get, I don't want to say complacent, but you do get into the everyday of things, but that's not boring. That's not something to not be excited about. Sometimes that's good to have that stationary way, like, I know what I'm doing, I've got this, let's see what the next thing is. So I think this quote is not identifying that at all. I think what this quote is saying is, if I can't wake up every day and be excited to do something that I've chosen to do and like love it and want to wake up early for it, and then it's not worth doing, and it's not my right path. Because when it's my right path, I'll know. You know, like, I got excited about my vision of what I want my future to look like, and all that's in between it will be really, really great for me. And I'll be excited because I know this is my path, this is where it's at. So to me, that particular one, if you're not excited about it, it's not the right path. Meaning, if you can't wake up every day and say, yes, I want this, then that's not what you should be doing in life. Tell me your side of it, Ella. How do you feel about that?
Well, I was just gonna say that, you know, one thing I talked about a life of purpose and abundance.
Yes.
I think the two things that stop people are fear and coming from a place of scarcity. And they are kind of the same in some ways. If you're in scarcity mode, you're fearful, at least. And I think that's one thing that really hinders people from making the steps that they need to make, is saying, what if? Like, I can't do this because I got to pay my bills. If we always make decisions from a place of scarcity, we will always stay in a place of scarcity.
Yeah.
And that's the law of attraction. It's absolutely true. I remember hiring my first business coach because I had the vegan thing down, had the fitness thing down. What I didn't know was how to create a business out of it, right? And at that point, I was in debt, tens of thousands of dollars. And I found this coach who asked me for a significant investment. And it took everything I had to say, okay, I got a little bit room, like, I've just got that much room left on this credit card. Just put me in more debt here. Let's just do this. But I made that out of a place of my vision for my future.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the best decision that I've ever made in my entire life, because it's the decision that put me on the path to being right here today. And so I am so thankful for that coach for really believing in me and sticking with me and helping me make that decision, because it really was the decision that I needed to make. And I know you've mentioned this story before, but like, you had to go through something similar to join the program.
Yeah, I certainly did.
Can you just briefly talk about that?
Yeah, oh, sure. I'm a single mom, and I had nothing. And talk about debt, you know, Ella, I'm on the same page. I am, you know, working my way out of tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt. And so to spend the money to take this risk on what I originally thought was just another program, I was like scared and I wasn't going to do it. And something spoke to me from you, and you were the catalyst there. You were the one who said, we're going to do this together. And it's just the way that you made me feel was like, okay, I'm jumping in. And I did. And honestly, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life. I would never go back for a second. And I will say that moving forward to this time and place, one of the things that was holding me back from making the decision that I'm making with my current position is that scarcity. I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I have a child. I have to keep the insurance. I have to make sure that I'm making a certain amount of money per year. I mean, there was all of these things on my checklist that I was like, I have to do this, have to. When in actuality, that's little tiny stuff that will be worked out. There's new jobs, there's other insurance, there's ways to get insurance. My kid's going to be just fine, and I'm going to be just fine. And once I got that mindset of I'm going to be just fine, I can do this program, I got this, somebody else has my back, I've got support, all of those things coming together, all of a sudden that's where like the feeling of freedom comes from. The feeling of freedom within yourself where you're like, okay, cool, I got this. I can make this decision and it's all going to work out just fine. So yeah.
Yes, awesome. And we're not saying go quit your jobs today.
No, don't. Yes, please, disclaimer, do not go and quit your job today.
Yes, that is not
quitting my job today.
Right. That is not what we're saying. Yeah. But we're saying do not be afraid to have that vision of what you really want and what you're passionate about, and to start moving in that direction, and not saying if, but saying how. How am I going to do this? This is not an if I'm going to do this. It's I'm in solution mode. I am in moving forward mode. I'm in empowerment mode. I am going to do this. I'm figuring it out right now, how to make that happen. And here are the steps I'm going to take.
Absolutely. And I think, some of the things that we talk about in the Plant and Power coaching program, and we don't necessarily use this specific language, but it's more like a fixed versus a growth mindset. Too. If you have a fixed mindset, do you want me to go into this?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So when we're operating from a fixed mindset, and I'm going to read my notes a little bit here because I wrote a bunch of notes on this just so that I remember. We believe that things are the way they are and that's it. We avoid challenges and situations or challenging situations at all costs. We don't absorb constructive criticism. Instead, we take it as anger and hurt and pain. We feel threatened by other successes sometimes, and we tend to not put an effort to things because it seems like fruitless labor. Oh my gosh, I was just there about 2 weeks ago. But when we're operating from a growth mindset, I'm going to tell you how that shifts. So you always have the desire to improve and learn from whatever it is you've been doing, and to just continue to move forward and get bigger and better. You stretch your beliefs to take on challenges just to see what can happen. That's kind of cool. You consider constructive criticism a necessity for growth. So you take it in and you use it in order to change where you are and to improve where you are. You're inspired by the success of others, and you put forth 100% effort in order to master any skill, no matter what or who is looking, because it's for you, not for them. So those are the differences between operating out of a fixed mindset and operating out of a growth mindset. And we learn how to do that in the Plant and Power coaching program 100 times over.
Oh, I love that. And how you describe that, we don't use those exact terms, but it's absolutely what we learn how to do. And one of our program mottos is there's no failure, only feedback. Absolutely. So I think that goes along with the constructive criticism piece of this. Svetlana also said, this is so much what I needed to hear today. Thank you. Awesome. I love to hear that, Svetlana. So yes, and I think one of the huge benefits of doing this and figuring this out for yourself and making these steps in your life is having a support system and people that are there for you unconditionally. And that's what we have built in this Plant Empowered coaching program, you know, you guys, we work with just a handful of people at a time because we get intimate in there. This is an intimate space with amazing women all in that growth mindset and are kind of blooming out of that growth mindset. And you don't start out that way, for sure. That's why people come into the program. So it's just a beautiful thing to see. And I just adore each and every person. And I really do handpick so that we can have that type of environment that's so special. I've never felt or seen anything like it. And so you guys, I know we're about up with time, but I think we made a lot of really solid points today, a lot of shifts that you guys can start making. And if you haven't watched my masterclass, that would be a next step. If the program's something that sparks your interest in working with us and doing all these things, then the masterclass would be a first step. And then I'm doing the breakthrough calls, which means you get on the phone with me and we talk about you. And we talk about what your struggles are, where your struggles. We work on getting to the root of what's going on, what's keeping you stuck. Then we look at that vision. If you don't have one, we help you create that vision of what you want for your life. And if it's a good fit, if the program is the solution, and I've been doing this long enough to be able to say that with confidence, if I tell you it's the solution, then I tell you all about it and the details, and we can get you started. If not, then I do my best to point you in a different direction that might be more helpful. So either way, there's really nothing to lose. That masterclass is the first step. I will put the link here. It's also in the pinned post at the top of the group. So you have the steps there to take action in that direction. If you're doing it on your own, you know, we're here for you in the Empowered Being in Life group. This is we're up to, I think, 4,000 people. So we have a lot of people in here, but I do go through, as you know, and make sure that we have a really safe and solid group here as well for you guys, for a free version of support. So Jamie, thank you so much for being here. Can we do this again? Because I feel like we have so much more to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. Alyssa, Janet, Svetlana, Stephanie, anyone I missed that I can't see right now, thank you for joining us live. And to everyone later for watching this recording, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or need any support. I'm here for you. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.